Namibia's Olympic flag bearer and star boxer Jonas Junius was recently arrested at the Rio Olympics for the alleged attempted rape and/or sexual assault of a chambermaid at the Olympic Village. The nation responded with outrage. The government, the public, and the media quickly came to Junius's defense.
It's unfortunate that basically allegations were made against our fighter.
It's an unfortunate situation. Me, as knowing Jonas as a person, whatever that allegations, I don't believe it.
Namibia's coalition against gender-based and sexual violence feels that the nation's response to these allegations confirmed an ever-growing rape culture in our society. According to the coalition, rape culture is the subtle ways in which rape is normalized on a day-to-day basis. Rape is often normalized in Western forms, and the objectification of women is very apparent in modern-day music videos. But exactly how does this relate to Junias's arrest? We speak to Senga Brockerhoff from the coalition tonight on One Exclusive. Good evening, viewers. Before the Rio 2016 Olympic Games opening ceremony, the Brazilian police arrested Moroccan boxer Hassan Saada on charges of sexual assault, after the athlete allegedly forced himself on two women working at the Olympic Village. Days later, Namibian boxer and Olympic flag bearer Jonas Junius was arrested on similar charges. According to the New York Times, he attempted to grab and kiss a cleaning lady, also at the Olympic Village, allegedly offering her money in exchange for sex. Now, Olympic competitors are not just athletes, they are patriots, symbols of the countries they represent. So naturally, the Namibian government and its people vigilantly came to Junias's defense, refuting the allegations and questioning the accuser's motives. However, there was also an uproar on social media by human rights activists. Some argue that despite Junias's possible innocence, the nation's inability to respond critically to his arrest feeds right into a bigger problem, that of rape culture. In studio with us tonight is Senga Brockerhoff from Namibia's Coalition Against Gender-Based and Sexual Violence. She's here to explain to us what rape culture is and how the nation, in their opinion, should be treating Junias's arrest. Evening, Senga.
Well,
it's good to have you here.
Thank you. Thank you for giving the Women's Coalition a voice on this platform.
Speaking of, who is the coalition?
So about 4 years ago, the Women's Solidarity of Namibia, the Sister Namibia, MISA Namibia, as well as survivors of victims, they came together and they started this called the Women's Coalition Against GBSV, which was a response to this crisis that we are currently undergoing. So since then, they've kind of picked up momentum. They've joined hands with a lot more individuals, organizations. So at this point, they're a group of about 20 groups and individuals across the country.
Fantastic. So they're groups and individuals.
Groups and individuals.
All right. And you guys have been quite vocal on social media specifically about the latest arrest of Jonas Junius. You guys saying that it feeds into rape culture. Now, before we get into that, what is rape culture?
I think a layman's term or a very straightforward way to explain what rape culture is to basically say it is our mindset as a society when it comes to these sexual assault issues, specifically rape. So what rape culture says, it's the way that we see rape, the way that we collectively think about rape. So a lot of people freak out a little bit when we say rape culture because we see culture as a collective, as a thing that us as a society
Something
does
positive,
together.
yeah.
It could be the arts, it could be, culture is generally seen as a positive thing.
Yes.
So it's difficult to then have it tied to something as atrocious as rape. But what this term means is that by acting a certain way or rationalizing it a certain way, we are indeed actually condoning rape to a certain extent, if I may put it like that.
So you're saying that there are things that we do or say, ways that we think that's normalizing rape?
It normalizes rape, it victimizes the victims, or at least it tries to blame, let's call it blames the victims for these crimes. It's in the way that we joke about things. So it is also, it's the subtle things. You know, it could be the direct things where we blame the victim. That's a very direct example of rape culture. An indirect form of rape culture would be just these jokes that we make about certain things.
So let's talk about those before we get into where rape culture comes from. Just explain to me, what do you mean by jokes? I mean, what type of jokes would then fall into the rape culture category?
You see, we live in the society of the social media, and what we see is these memes, meaning these are these pictures with these jokes in them. One I recently saw, for example, is a man looking at a cartoon, looking at a girl and saying that, oh no, you're too young for me, and so forth. And then when she turns around and she's got a big behind, his eyes pop out and now he's very eager. So it's the way that we objectify our women in these jokes. It's the way that we sort of pinpoint men as supposed to be these testosterone, strong-driven creatures. It's all those kind of jokes that feed into it.
I just want to quickly get to this idea of objectifying a woman now. That's quite a big concept for somebody who doesn't really understand that. What does it mean to objectify a woman?
Oh, I don't think we need to understand the word objectify to know what it means. We all, I can say it happens every day, everywhere. It's in the way that men openly look at women, look at their body parts in a very sexualized way. It's the freedom that men have to comment on women's bodies, the catcalling.
Right. So turning the woman's body into a sexual object.
Into a sexual object, and it's very predominant in our patriarchal society, because of course women are the weaker sex, so we are not of much use to society other than our very sexy bodies.
All right, okay. So, but I mean, rape culture is something that was termed in the 1970s, I think, but it's not a modern day occurrence. I think it's not, I mean, modern day you see maybe girls specific, you've got to dress a specific way, you've got to look a specific way, show some skin to be acceptable. But is this something that happened traditionally as well?
You see, I don't believe that rape culture is just a modern thing, that it just popped out of nowhere in recent times. I think it's only because now that we actually have a name to put on this phenomenon, or to hang around this phenomenon, to point a finger at it, to say that's what it is. Throughout time, women have been oppressed, abused, used by men, used to the extent of used as weapons of war, and all of that. So throughout all of that, and in the abuse of women, we have created a society that sees it as normal. In fact, we now view rape as being a normal consequence of life.
All right. Now, Senga, I'm not going to let go of rape culture yet. I don't think we're quite there yet. Yeah. Despite inappropriate jokes and catcalling, what other ways does rape culture manifest itself in our society?
There are so many examples, and I think what makes it very tricky with this thing is how it slips out from under us, or how we don't notice, is because these examples are such everyday things. For example, you notice it in the lyrics to songs. There's one song specifically that I can mention, Blurred Lines, where the lyric says, I know you wanted. So already that is blurring the lines of consent, so to speak.
Sorry, what do you mean by consent?
Consent means that when we are both about to engage in a sexual activity, whether I have explicitly agreed to that.
Just to bring it back to a local context, the first thing I thought of is terms we call women kandeshis and stuff like that. Would that be a local form of rape? Because I mean, a music video that's produced in America is something.
Yeah.
But to bring it back to home,
yes.
What else? What type of behavior would be seen as rape?
The latest phenomenon, I would guess, is this blesser phenomenon, where we are now basically almost advocating for older men to keep women by money, or via money, or buy them, So it kind of creates the culture that a woman can belong to a man. And for me, how that feeds into creating a very dangerous gender-based sexual violence situation is because if you are paying for my hair, if you're paying for my flat and all of that, what do you think is going to happen that day when I say no for sex? That guy is going to take it anyway. So stuff like the kandeshis, the blesser culture, all of that. Also, when we talk about polygamy, it also creates unhealthy situations that could potentially aggravate this gender-based violence situation and rape culture.
Well, I mean, let's quickly touch on polygamy. That was something mentioned by, our Speaker of Parliament a few months ago. What exactly about polygamy would you deem as rape culture?
With polygamy, there is this misconception that a man needs multiple women to keep him satisfied and to keep him happy. So
you're commodifying the
you're
body
once again commodifying, and you are basically saying that that is the purpose that women serve, is that to be there for a man. And how the whole polygamy thing, I think, becomes a little bit, becomes dangerous is because then they're trying to defend polygamy by saying, but if a man has multiple wives, he will be completely satisfied and therefore not have the need to rape. So it becomes really tricky to try and balance that.
Senga, I'm going to stop you there. Rape culture in Namibia is real, but how is rape culture perpetuated in the sports community? After the break, we address rape culture on an institutional level with Senga Brockerhoff from Namibia's Coalition Against Gender-Based and Sexual Violence. Junias' arrest was not an isolated incident. Moroccan boxer 22-year-old Saada Hassan was also arrested at the Olympics on suspicion of assaulting 2 Brazilian women who worked as waitresses. If one digs deeper, rape allegations against Olympic athletes, although not popular in the news, have occurred repeatedly throughout the years. In the 2000 Olympics, Ugandan swimmer Joe Atware was arrested for raping a 17-year-old girl. Japanese gold medalist Masato Uchishiba was accused of sexual harassment and later sentenced to 5 years in prison for rape after the 2008 Olympic Games. Are these incidents merely a case of a few bad apples? Or does this point to a real problem of sexism in the international sports world? In studio with us after the break, Senga Brockerhoff from Namibia's Coalition Against Gender-Based and Sexual Violence talks to us about rape culture in sport. Tell us about rape culture in sports.
Now that is a very tricky one, and I think it's become even more prevalent in recent years, not because it has not happened before or that it's not or hasn't happened in the past, simply because people are speaking out now and it's coming more to light now that there are so many victims and so many incidences of rape allegations in sports. So when it comes to sports, there's a thing called locker room culture.
Yes.
And what this means is that we are creating, in this locker room environment, we are basically creating these very testosterone aggressive men, because we are saying not only are they competing in sports that are invariably aggressive, football and all of those ones, boxing, for example, as is the case with Junias, but also that they are superstars. We are creating these testosterone celebrities, or testosterone-driven celebrities for whom they think women are a prize. So they kind of think that I'm a celebrity now, I'm this big sports superstar, so I should have access to all these women. It becomes a status symbol to have all these women and being able to have sex whenever you want. So now the problem with that is now, obviously, it moves out of the locker room and into society, where we unfortunately have men that go about and engage in social situations and deem themselves entitled to a woman's body in whatever way.
What we're getting to next, I guess, is Junius' arrest. And I think naturally the nation responded by coming to his defense. I think we do that with any athlete. So I think my next question would be, why are you guys being so critical of this? Does he fall into that category? Do you think Junius is a person who sees he's entitled?
With Junius, I think it comes back to us having to go, what is our collective mindset as a society? Because with Junius, the question begs, if he had done whatever he was alleged to have done to a cleaning lady, for example, a hotel here in Windhoek or possibly at a Shebeen in Katatura, for example.
Yes.
What would our stance be on it? I would like to venture to say that we would think it's no big deal if we tried to grope and grab a lady and tried to kiss her, because we seem to think that that is not a big deal.
So what we are accepting here might then, reflect itself.
Exactly. I think what this case with Junias did and why the coalition is so up in arms about it is because it is an exact indication of where we stand as a nation in terms of this rape culture. This showed us that we do have a problem. And then frighteningly was the response by the Namibian public at large. I think that is what the coalition was really up in arms about, is the response. Fair enough, we all say it should be innocent until proven guilty, but I would like to say that when it comes to gender-based sexual violence, we almost cannot afford to have that stance.
And I think this idea of false allegations as well. I mean, if you look at it statistically, there's about 2, maybe 3% of all rape allegations that are false.
We cannot even discuss that. In worldwide, the statistics for false allegations are between 2 and 8%. Namibia as a country does not even have stats for false allegations. So for us to immediately run to that as an explanation or as an excuse for Junius is ludicrous, because it just once again goes to show that we would try to find any excuse other than to accept that a man thought himself
more powerful,
that he is entitled to a woman's body.
And I mean, well, the thing is, our Deputy Minister of Sports, Madam Chongerero, Huahop from NBC, they all came out ardently and they said, we pray that these allegations are false. She said, personally, I know Junias, and he's not the type of person to do that. Now, are you guys not maybe just villainizing him?
No, Alnad. See, there's another one. Once again, rape culture. The examples where people are saying the woman only wanted money, so we're shifting this over to the victim immediately. Also, another big indication of our mindset is the fact that we have this idea or notion of what kind of a guy or what kind of a person makes for a rapist. Do we really think that murderers and rapists don't have friends, that they couldn't also be nice guys? So for us to disregard the allegation completely based on the fact that you might know him personally or that he could be a nice guy is just not right.
And I mean, now, Senga, our time is running out. Could you tell us, does rape culture really make a difference to the rape statistics in this country?
Of course it does. It's the root level at which we approach and where this crisis actually stems from. Because if we turn a blind eye, if we as a society have this mindset of normality, that rape is just a consequence of us living in the society, that it's normal.
A consequence of womanhood.
A consequence of womanhood. The fact that we as women have to accept that that is just the situation of our lives. So I think that we should be very, very serious about rape culture, because if once we can address our mindsets, maybe we can get then to actually altering or changing those rape stats.
And for somebody in their own home, I mean, what could the things that a man and a woman in their own home could do to address rape culture?
It's little things, and I think most importantly it starts with yourself. You really have to do some introspection to see, do you have a healthy mindset in terms of gender relations, how you see men and women and the way they relate to each other. Another one that starts with you. You have to be very discerning and critical about the information you consume, be it on social media, be it what you read in the newspapers. Be discerning about the information you get so that that doesn't form, or wrong information doesn't form the basis of your mentality. The other things for journalists specifically, I would say they also form a big part of this, is that we need to be sensitive about how we are reporting this. We need to, if you've written something, read through it again and imagine that you are the victim or that victim's family reading the specific piece, and look at the language that you are using. Wow, yes. The fact that our journalists need to be a little bit more educated in terms of sexual violent crimes, differentiating between the different kinds of sexual violence, using the correct terminology so that we can educate our nation as well.
Fantastic, Senga. Any last words from the coalition?
Just to wrap up, I would like to say that rape culture, or us talking about rape culture, is not vilifying anybody. We're not pointing a finger and saying our men are bad or society is bad. We're only saying that there is a problem, there is a mindset problem which is leading to a crisis. So we need to take a step back and investigate this crisis, and as a nation, collectively try to change that mindset.
Fantastic. Thank you so much. According to media reports, Olympic boxer Jonas Junius remains in the custody of the Namibian embassy in Brazil. Until he is proven either innocent or guilty of the crimes pitted against him, we as a nation need to face an ever-growing problem of gender-based violence on home soil. Does rape culture feed into this growing national problem? Are we addressing the issue of gender-based violence in a critical manner? And can we afford not to? Share your thoughts with us on tonight's topic via an SMS to 555. Remember, SMSs are charged at $1.50. Good night, viewers.